Hello, hello. Today we're gonna talk about job interviews that think that it's so important, but at the same time, for so many people, are so frightening, so scaring. But I think it's a huge opportunity to give that step and to stay ahead of your competitors. Stay tuned because I will bring Erika just in a minute. Hello, hello again. So there's me, Marco Novo, and I hope you're having a good time. Please let me know on comments where are you from, where are you talking from. Please also let me know if you are watching now live or if you are watching the replay. Please put the hashtag live or replays for me to see who is there. And today we're going to talk about this so important thing when we are seeking for a new job, which is the job interview. I had a few. Some of them in the beginning they were so scaring, and after that I started get some improvement, and I enjoyed so much doing interviews. And the one thing, and I will talk about this with my amazing guest, it's that at the beginning we start by talking about the job, and at the end we were talking about so many things that at the beginning we may thought that they have not so much to do with the job. So today I left her in the basement with a cookie and a glass of water. I will have this amazing lady, Erika, which has something for me that it's amazing. She lights in a so peaceful light, because it's amazing when I'm so Latin, so South European hot-blooded man, and when I talk with Erika, she gives me so peace, and it's amazing, and I'm sure that you will notice that also. So let me bring Erika to the stage. Hello, Erika. How are you?
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm great, and you?
Great. Welcome, LinkedIn.
Okay, we are on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Facebook.
Oh,
Please
yeah.
let us know where you are, where are you from, and also say which language are you watching us.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, look who's here, Marcello. How are you, Marcello?
Hey, Marcello. How are you?
So, Erika, first, it's a pleasure, it's an honor to have you here to talk about this, because you know so much about this, and I think you can help my audience with this. I will ask you, please, for
Yeah.
you to introduce yourself, and then let's start the conversation, if it's okay for you.
Awesome. So I am Coach Erika Love. And basically, what I do is I help people create, navigate, and cultivate their next big win. You know, all the time we are just working towards our goals and our dreams, but we haven't yet defined what they are. Also, sometimes we just find ourselves spinning on a wheel. But if we can just get focused and realize what our values are, then we can create our vision from our mind and make it
Perfect.
manifest. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Okay, here I am again. So, Marcello, hey, Erika. Good to have you here.
Yeah. I caught his birthday messages earlier.
It's your birthday today.
No, not mine. Marcello doesn't
Oh,
send me a
I see.
birthday message.
Well, because if it was your birthday, I will have to sing in Portuguese the birthday song.
You know what? I'll take it. Really, every day is your birthday. If you're so grateful to be alive, you've had birth for this day. So it's good to celebrate.
Absolutely. Well, I'm gonna bring to the screen this poll. I asked you to give us some topics, and
Mhm.
okay, let me put it a little bit bigger. Okay, so
Let's do it a little bit bigger. It's hard to
okay,
see.
of course we can.
You know, I can't see. My old lady glasses can't see.
Okay, now I think it's good. So,
Yeah.
has the global pandemic inspired you to change career, start a business, work harder in your work? Which is amazing about this. It's we have a perfect draw.
A perfect three-way tie. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, absolutely. So,
So I'll tell you what that says to me. That three-way tie tells me that people have anything decided to get at it. No matter what, if they are going to work harder in their current career, if they're going to change jobs, or if they're going to create a business, no matter what, they are going to get at it. Having this global pandemic has created a wake up call within so many people that they are no longer satisfied with the status quo. Nobody is accepting um, the status quo anymore. They want to pursue their potential. There's nothing like pursuing your potential. There's nothing like waking up and knowing that you are going to chase after the dreams and goals that are put inside of you and use your skills and talent to manifest excellence. There's nothing like that feeling. So although we are I'm going to say it, we are terrorized by this pandemic. Nobody's burying their head. Most the average response is to wake up and do something about it, and I love that.
absolutely, because nobody, nobody voted on the. I don't care.
Yes,
Yeah,
nobody voted I don't care.
yeah,
That
not
was
care
an
at all.
option. You know what? I don't care is an option. As a matter of fact, gosh, I hate to say this about my beautiful country, but so many of us have opted to not care about a lot of things because we don't vote in America. Only about 40% or so of the American population regularly participates in our national elections. Okay. And that is the option to do nothing. That's what Americans typically do. So the seismic shift that I feel that has occurred in America is that everybody is engaged. You know, more people are engaged than not engaged. People are focused on what is going on, whether it has to do with their career, their business, politics, a social movement. People, their minds are on. Nobody is just thinking, oh, I want to vacation. Oh, I want to lay on the beach. Oh, just want to do nothing. Those things are good, but they don't manifest your talent. They don't manifest your potential. And right now, what I am seeing from people is everyone is trying their very best to leave a mark and not just float along.
Absolutely. Well, there's one thing about this because we in this mostly here in Portugal we have a different mindset. We
Mm-hmm.
have that's it. And one thing I've noticed is that for instance this live video thing
Mm-hmm.
for so many people was kind of forbidden place to be
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's not my thing. I'm afraid of cameras. Why should I do this? And blah 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 blah. And because of this, so many people had to jump into the swimming pool,
Mm-hmm.
even though there was no much water, but they had to. And I've noticed the increasing crazy increasing on this live streaming thing, and I think that send us or lead us to another thing, which is, okay, maybe I'm underrating my potential,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because I thought for so many times I couldn't do this, and maybe I'm doing the same with other things I want to do, and because I'm comparing, because I think I'm not so good in that, maybe I'm here stopping or stuck, and I don't do. And after all, maybe I can,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because let me just finish. This idea come to my mind this morning. Please let me share with my audience because it's so insightful.
Okay, let's hear it.
For instance, one of the problems we as a human beings we have, it's comparing all the time with what
Mm-hmm.
we see, with what we listen, with what we read, and we think, oh, I can get there.
Yeah.
And it comes to my mind a tree, because, for instance, a small tree, a seed on the floor, one day starts flourishing, and she doesn't watch the other trees so big, so strong. Oh, I will stop because I won't be like them because they are so big. Couldn't
Mm-hmm.
be this a nice way to think about our career, our lives, to think,
Right.
okay,
Right.
they are big, they are, but I can be big also.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That is a very smart analogy that you have there. It's kind of internal. We have these internal needs. On one end, we desire so much to be significant, to be used, to make our mark, to be different, to add something of value. That is something that is internal to us. And then on the other hand, we desire so much to be, safe, to be appreciated. Okay. So if we're going to be safe, if we're going to be normal, then it's very hard to be uh, uh, significant, because being significant sometimes requires being extraordinary, right? You have to be a little bit different. As a matter of fact, you have to be the you that you were created to be. And it's hard if you think people are not going to accept you, because everybody wants to be accepted. We want so much to be accepted. So, being significant and being accepted are two basic needs that we have, but they push against each other, and the dynamics really don't line up. So we have to actually push back that fear. Okay, we have to push away from our fear. One of my favorite sayings for fear is face everything and rise. Okay, because things are going to happen. You are going to make mistakes. I am going to make mistakes. I'm looking at myself. We're having this interview, and I promise you, I see 50 things that I would prefer
Oh my God.
change. And as a woman, I'm looking at my glasses, my hair, my lipstick, yada, 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 yada. As a woman, this goes through my mind, right? But instead of focusing on this idea of appearing perfectly on camera and being accepted, first I'll do the job of accepting myself, and then I'll focus on adding value in this moment. Really, I'm trying to be generous with my knowledge, and I'm trying to be grateful for the knowledge that I have. And then I will forgive myself for being overly concerned about these, the superficial things that all humans kind of think about, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But you nailed something there that it's important for me. It's
Yeah.
and I think it was the most important gasoline when I started this content creation and sharing
Hmm.
adventure, which was, I need to share something with the people, because I think I know something. I guess now I know a little more,
Okay.
and and it's important, this approach of giving. And even though sometimes we need to make some boundaries about this, it's important
Mhm.
also. But the willing of share, of bringing something that may help someone, it's really important by these days, don't you think?
Absolutely, absolutely. As a matter of fact, if you approach any job interview, your job search, with the mindset of generosity, you will find that you will exude that energy and you'll create a positive environment around your words, because your words is what you use. It's like the mechanism that you are using to create an idea in the person's mind about you, right? So if your posture in your heart is generosity, then the value that you have is going to flow out of you. I can't tell you everyone else's talents if they can't communicate it to me. So I don't know your value unless you communicate it to me. And for me to get an understanding of that, you have to use your words, right? But if you have a selfish heart, if you are closing in um, your value, if you're not generous with that, I am confused about what you have to offer. So that simple mindset helps a person feel open towards what you have to give. You know, I will tell you, Marco, one of the things that constantly impresses me about you is that you're amazingly generous with your knowledge. You are. You are. I don't know. A while back we had a conversation and you were telling me all of this technical stuff about broadcasting and things of that nature. You told me so much information I could barely get it down. But but the reality was I left feeling impressed with you. I left feeling feeling appreciative of you, and it was because of your generosity. And if you want someone to appreciate who you are, then share with them who you are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So maybe this could bring us to the conversation, and I think in a while we can talk about this again, because I think it's important to communicate this while you're interviewing. But first things first.
It's true. I said true things about you.
um, Interviewing what, because okay, I got that email, that phone call, okay,
Yeah.
next day at some given time you have to be here to make or a Zoom call or a Skype
Yeah.
call, because we are now in
Mhm.
another paradigm.
You
What
know
should
what?
I do to prepare the interview?
Well, first of all, I want to address the idea of having a interview on a Zoom call, okay? Because that could be that could be the wave of the future. It certainly is the normal for the norm for right now, but many employers will likely choose to continue this even after the pandemic has passed. So we're going to have good etiquette about our Zoom calls. For me, I would consider a Zoom call an in-person interview. So you want to do everything that you would do for an in-person interview and plus some. So what's the plus some? You want to make sure that the environment that you are in is quiet, clean, and professional. You want to make sure that you have a professional look about you. And I'm going to say from the top all the way down, because you never ever know.
Absolutely.
You never know if the camera can slip, or perhaps they might ask you to stand up. You want to prepare for surprises. So consider your Zoom interview to be a fully professional interview. Don't be overly relaxed because you're in your home environment. Yes.
I need to, because it came to my mind with this new paradigm, with this
Hmm.
Zoom call thing, it came to my mind. It's a huge opportunity for you to bring more of your identity to the meeting,
Mhm.
because, for instance, if you go to the headquarters of the company, to an
Uh-huh.
office, you can show, for instance, your bookshelf,
Yeah, that's true.
or some rewards you got when you
Yeah.
were younger or something, because it gives you, it reinforces, hopefully,
Mhm. Mhm.
uh, s- your identity, because that's it. Because, for instance, if you have a bookshelf with many books about your field area, or
Yeah.
if you have some rewards or some things which gives us, okay, he volunteer, he
Mhm.
helps, it's a huge opportunity to shine, right?
Right. You know what? I think you're getting into the idea of a portfolio, so to speak. And whether you are going in person for an interview or on a Zoom call, I would have my portfolio prepared so that, you could talk about it. So you can share uh, those details about yourself. So if you've received any awards, even if there's something as um, you know, I don't think this is small. I actually think it's huge, but an attendance award, right? Um, a lot of students coming directly out of school, they may have received attendance awards or academic awards. I would bring those types of things to the interview so that I could talk about them, because let me tell you, you could be the best doctor that was ever made. You could have the cure for cancer, AIDS, and at this point the coronavirus. But if you don't show up for work, you are of no help to me. So if you have awards that talk about your attendance, if you have awards that talk about your initiative, if you have awards that talk about how you have bought into the company's missions and things of that nature, then bring them along. Or they may not be awards, they just might be documentation of your efforts. Bring that information with you so that you can talk about how you were able to help the organization meet their goals.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's one thing, I completely disagree, and it makes me crazy.
Okay.
It's, and it's used here often, and it's kind of, okay, let me show that I'm humble and that I
Yeah.
want, because what are your perspectives by coming working on this company? Oh, one thing, I want to learn.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I, if someone says this to me, okay, I want to talk, I will say this, didn't you went to school?
Okay. Okay.
Because I think it's human to learn from everybody, from every experience. I think we should not bring this to the conversation, because if I'm the owner of a company, the human resource responsible, I don't want you to come to learn here. I want you to bring value, to solve problems. So,
Mm-hmm.
because it's inherent to learn.
Mm-hmm.
We do this.
So I think it's in the framing of saying that. So if I'm hiring you to do, I don't know, I'm going to pick something very tangible, right? Um, if I'm hiring you to lay bricks, I don't want to teach you how to lay bricks, be a masonry. I don't want to teach you that particular skill. But if I say to you, I am an expert of being a masonry, and I want to learn more about your culture and your style, then and how you bring your team together, then
Okay.
that's okay. It's okay. So you want to bring your expertise to the table, at the same time communicate that you are coachable and teachable. Because one of the most difficult things that is going on in the culture of employment today is that sometimes people are stagnant. Um, Organizations are really testing this idea of AQ. AQ is your adaptability quotient. Okay. Companies are looking for people who want to know the way that they do it and the way that it needs to be done. Because I will tell you, the way that someone's doing something today is not necessarily the way that someone will do it tomorrow. For instance, the current situation with the pandemic, if you are not coachable, if you are not teachable, if you do not have the ability to learn, then you are preventing the organization from pivoting. Many of our restaurateurs had to go from serving people inside of the restaurant to focusing on deliveries, or quite honestly, a lot of them became mini grocery stores. But if I had you as an employee and I could not depend on you to pivot with me, then you became a frustration in the organization. If you were a naysayer or a complainer or really focused on the old way of doing things, then you were actually preventing me from growing at a time when it was crucial for us to grow and pivot together. So I think that learning is a good thing. I think being coachable is a good thing. I just think that you need to clearly communicate your abilities and your values.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, the first rule, tell me about the first rule, because I know that you have something important to share with us.
So I think you're referring to the first rule of interviewing.
Absolutely. That's it.
I got it. I got it. So the first rule of interviewing is turn up the pressure. Ah! I got an interview. It's gonna be the best job I ever had. Da, da, da. Okay, so you can turn up the pressure, but what does that really mean? Turning up the pressure means that you understand that this is consequential. And what do you do for something like that? You practice. I want you to practice, 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 and then practice again. And quite frankly, if you are in the job market, you shouldn't wait till you get your dream interview to practice. You should be out there practicing interviewing anyway, whether or not you have a interview coach such as myself, or you're taking a layman's approach and practicing with a friend. I promise you, Michael Jordan didn't learn to dunk his basketball while he was on the court of the NBA games, while he was winning a ring. He did that practicing first in his backyard, then on his high school basketball teams, and so on. You can't neglect practicing the basic skills that it takes for you to win. So this is no different than um, Michael Jordan shooting his best shots.
Absolutely.
He didn't become Air Jordan by sitting down. You you got to get in the air on a regular basis. Now, on the flip side of turning up the pressure, turn down the pressure. Okay, what does that really mean? I need you to put this in perspective. There is no such thing as the one and only job for you. Okay, this is an opportunity, and I can guarantee you, if Michael Jordan didn't get recruited by the Bulls, then the Lakers would have had big dreams, right? Okay. You are your own Michael Jordan. You must remember that you have something to bring to the table. And what I want job seekers to know is spend some time finding out what you are skilled at. Spend some time thinking about, what did I do for my last job? How did I add value to that particular project, or that particular goal that was accomplished? What did I do that made a difference? And then what do I do well on in my volunteer life or at home? Look at what your transferable skills are, so that you feel comfortable with them, so that you feel comfortable talking about them. Okay. And um, just turn down the pressure. One of the ways to do that, in addition, is to do your research on any organization that you're going to interview with. Quite frankly, a lot of people look at, oh, I just want to interview with so many different places. But it's really a better idea to research particular companies that match your values, that match accomplishments that you want to see manifest in the world. That way, when you are hired, you're a match, that you have something in common, that you have things that you want to, see happen, and you can talk with them about what value you add and how you can help them get the job done, and get the initiatives created that they want. You know, if you're building something and I enjoy building it too, I am going to do a much better job helping you build it, number one, and I'll be enthusiastic about doing it, and you'll be able to tell that.
Absolutely. It
Mhm.
is. Well, we have some comments here.
Yeah.
Daniel, hello, Daniel. Nice to see you here. AQ, it's a powerful notion.
Okay, good.
And also
Yeah.
we have uh, Karina, who say yes. I think it was about the because of the timing. I think it was about the things you are noticing while you were doing live. The 100 things.
Oh, okay. I got it. I got it.
So there's one thing you talked because which is really powerful. Oh my god, I will start talking Portuguese. I think it's easier for me because that's so simple question. How are you?
Ooh, yeah.
It's so underrated and underused, and you came
Hmm.
with that idea, and I say, oh my god, this is so powerful. Please share with us this so different approach you have.
Okay. So the in general, somehow, some way, when you are connecting with someone, they're going to say, "How are you?" Right? I'm going to ask you, "How are you doing, Marco?"
Well, I'm perfect. I'm interviewing an amazing lady, which is bringing so many value to my community and to me, of course. So I'm enjoying a lot.
That is really great. And see, you almost hit the nail on the head. If I was being interviewed and someone said, "So, Erica, how are you?" And I'd say, "Oh my goodness, thank you for asking. I'm very excited about what something I'm working on. I'm working on a project called Zoffy, and what that does is it connects people together with projects so that they can build a better future, and accomplish their goals. So that's just something that I'm working on. I got an opportunity to tell you about that. Nothing really long, but just something that adds value to who I am. And then it gives you a opportunity to say, "Zolfi, what did you say, Zolfi? What is that? That's odd, right?" You can ask me a question, and then all of a sudden we have this organic, natural banter about something that matters to me, number one, something that I feel good about, number two, and then something that's creating value in the world, number three. And then I can talk to that person about how what I'm doing can add value in their organization. So how are you should be a springboard to talk about something that matters, not, "Oh, I'm fine.
Thank
I'm
you. Thanks
okay."
for asking.
Yeah. You know, just don't answer that question with a nothing burger, so to speak. Answer that question with something powerful, something that means something, so that you can grow from it. By the way, it's just very important, and it's an easy way to create an organic connection with the person who's interviewing you. I can't really stress how that takes you a long way, because if you feel good about me and we have a connection, I'll tell you that's going to matter. That's going to create leverage between you and the person who's making a decision for you. I can't tell you how many times that um, I've had candidates who were better qualified, but the decision maker chose the person that they liked, right? Why did they like them? They simply liked them because they felt a commonality with them. So if you are an expert at building connection, then you'll get pushed further and further down the line. Oh gosh, what is that? I can't remember the author of the book. I'm sure you know, but um, the it's Finding Your Why. Who somebody out
Simon
there?
Sinek.
There you go. Some
Start
okay.
with why.
Start with Why. So Start with Why was his first book, but then he followed up with Finding Your Why, right? So in the second book, Finding Your Why, there's a story about um, two leaders, and they had interviewed this person. The person was very very qualified, but they decided not to hire them, and it was simply because they had the notion in their gut feeling, that he didn't believe the same things that they believed, right? So for me, how that has manifest over thousands of interviews, it's whether or not the person feels a connection with that person. Because the reality is, you don't know what anybody believes, but you know whether or not you feel comfortable with them. You know whether or not you get the sense that you can have synergy with them, where whether or not that you feel as if you can build something with them. I have somebody in my life that I work with intentionally because they think so differently with me than me. They think so differently from me, and so I run ideas past them on a regular basis because I want their perspective. Now, if they had a way of communicating their perspective um, that was hard to swallow, or I felt like there was no synergy, then it would it would just be difficult. I would not go to them to get their perspective. That said, because I feel as if our values are similar and that I can accomplish something with them, I go to them on a regular basis. So a lot of times people think, oh, I need people to think the way I think, talk the way I talk, and be the way I am. But that is not the case. If I wanted a duplicate of myself, I just ask myself,
Absolutely.
right? So don't be afraid to be different, to be significant. Don't be afraid to be significant, but focus on your value and focus on how you communicate. Um, what you think, your differences, so to speak. It is good to disagree, not good to be disagreeable.
Absolutely,
There you
absolutely.
go.
You're right. Well, we have another comment from Daniel. How are you? Is a pivot. It's like winning the flip on the coin before a game, and we get it all the time.
Could you repeat that for me? I'm not sure if I quite caught that.
How are you? Is a pivot. It's like winning the flip of the coin before a
Ah,
game, and we get it all the time.
yes, 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 yes. So, how are you is if you have the answer to that question, it's like you win every single time.
Absolutely. So, for those of you who are watching us now, who just come to the conversation now, we are talking about preparing an interview to make a sky rocket interview, to make an amazing interview. And we are here with Erika. And please, if you have some questions, let us know. Bring some ideas to the comments. I have to give a step back, and uh, because you made me think about this, and I think it's again another used tool, which is, and you talked this about this before,
Hmm.
do a research about the companies which may be a fit for me, the way I think, the things I believe, and everything, and then apply for them. Not every company, and
Mhm.
do the we marketers are always talking about this funnel thing, and we you can do that also. I mean, search for people first, search companies, then search people who work there, and
Mhm.
talk
Mhm.
about the company, to feel how the DNA there, the
Mhm.
culture, the
Mhm.
environment, and then search for the people which may be the interviewer,
Uh-huh.
so understand what he or she believes, how you can engage with them. Not, and I think it's important, this Erica, you do this research not to say the things this person wants you to say, if you know what I mean, but to see which things in your personality, in you, in your beliefs, match with that person.
Mhm. 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 So, one of the most generous things that you can do for a person, something everybody has access to, is to listen to them. Right? How do you feel when you are heard? When someone listens to you?
Amazing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I bring that up because when you do your research, what you're doing is you are reading and you're viewing the ideas of the people and the organization that you are saying you want to be a part of. And so effectively, you have listened to them. Okay. And then if you go a little bit further and you seek to understand that perspective, once you do that, you can then review your history, review your talents, review your skills, and see how you can add value. Okay. Um, there is this idea when it comes to sales. People do not like to sell because they feel like they are pushing something on to someone, right? But people love to help in general. People love to help. Okay. Now, if I view my talents as help to an organization who needs what I have to give, then my mindset is generous. My thought process is open. Okay. But if I just go in and I'm just talking about, oh, I can do this and I can do that, and they're thinking, well, I don't need that. I don't want
Absolutely.
that. Okay. All of a sudden I'm starting to feel judged. All of a sudden I'm not focusing on the right things, and I'm stumbling over my words. I'm not knowing the parameters of what's going on. So your footing is off. So this is why we do our research, because we want to know what is it that I have to give. And if I research a company and I realize, I have nothing to offer this company, it would be a bad idea for me to waste my time trying to give them my gifts and talents because they don't need me, right? I would be better served giving my sharing my gifts and talents with someone who could appreciate me.
Absolutely. So, given this,
Mm-hmm.
there's something really common in interviews. All of them has that it's kind of how do we say this, TV show contest.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This
Okay.
three
Okay.
given questions.
Do you
We
you
done this research. It's, I think it will ease the process of preparing for these so common questions, right? Which are, by the way,
okay? One of them is, tell me about yourself. If people go, huh? That that's kind of like the relationship question that says, honey, we need to talk.
oh my god.
Now you've been talking to this person like for years, right? But the moment that they say, We need to talk. Your heart stops. I don't want to talk to you. Right? So you want to prepare for that question. When someone says, "Tell me about yourself," what you want to hear is, in your mind, you want to answer, "This is how I can add value. This is how I've added value in the past, and this is how I can add value in the future." So again, this is where research comes in. Okay, let's pretend that I'm hiring you, and I asked you to tell me about yourself, and perhaps I'm building this um, new platform in which people are going to have live interviews, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I didn't necessarily know, you didn't have it on your resume that you had a live program. And I said, but you saw on the website where I had just gotten this thing started. And I said, "So Marco, tell me about yourself," right? Exactly. So, what you would want to do is say something like, "Oh, wow, thank you for asking me. I saw on your website where you were building a new platform for live on LinkedIn. You may not know this, but I actually have a live program that I do once a week. Well, actually, I do it twice a week. I just remembered that. But anyway, that I do twice a week, and I've had it for quite some time now. I've had a lot of successes, and I'd love to go over with you a few of the things that I've learned." So I'm being generous. I'm telling you what I have to offer already. I am reminding you that what I have to offer actually buys into something that you're trying to accomplish. So
Absolutely.
that's what "Tell Me About Yourself" should be. It should not be about your kids. It should not be about um, just things that have nothing to do with your ability to add value at work. It's okay to talk about your volunteer work. It is okay to talk about past accomplishments, but I I don't want to hear about things that could be a burden to the interview process. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
because it is important to, and I remember, I think it was the last job interview I made. We were talking about something I didn't manage, something I didn't have, and I say, oh, okay, I don't have this, but look, I have this which helps you in this, and I have this which help you in this, and at the end, I got the job.
That's good. That's awesome. I'm so glad you brought that up, because the reality is, if someone's bothering to interview you, you already have the basic skills that they're looking for, right? They
Absolutely.
wouldn't be interviewing you if you did not have the skills on your resume that they're looking for. So, what they're looking for at that point is, how well do you fit in with the organization and the mission of the organization and the values of the organization. Now, if you don't know what those things are, you're going to have a very hard time navigating the interview. So, once again, I'm going to go back to research, research,
Absolutely.
research, research, and then practice. Um, your interview skills. Don't just anytime you stop interviewing, you get a little bit rusty. Michael,
Absolutely.
yeah, Michael Jordan of today is not as good as he was, you know, in the 90s, because he's not on the court every day. As a matter of fact, I think he's catching fish
Yeah,
these
maybe.
days, you know.
Yeah, but there's that thing about research and trying to connect before going to the interview or even going to the company, because by these days we at least this amazing and powerful tool where we met, LinkedIn.
Mhm.
I think it's so nonsense to not taking advantage of this
Mhm. Mhm.
and do that research. For instance, another question: which are your strengths? Because
Yeah.
we can look for people who are working there and look. Tell me about you, and sometimes on the person's feed you can all tell something, but if you want to reach them out and talk with them, I don't see why not doing this.
Mhm. Mhm. So, I think people are really good at telling their strengths. I don't think that people are naturally in tune to talking about why that matters, right? So you might say a general strength that people, some people are really good writers, right? Or maybe they're very organized, right? So if I'm very organized, I might say, one of my strengths is my organizational skills. For that reason, this is the ticket. For that reason, I am typically able to accomplish several major tasks in a day. So, whatever it is that you're really good at, connect it to a outcome, connect it to a result. And so sometimes people talk about, what they're good at, but they don't connect it to what I like to call just a win. How does that help you win every day? How does that help the organization win every day? So that's the big deal about talking about your strengths. So yeah, that is another one of the three most common questions that are asked.
And the last one.
Oh yeah! Oh, this is a big one.
the
Hmm.
the third one most asked.
It is. So, what are your weaknesses?
Oh my god. Oh.
I don't want to talk
Well, I think the most common, I'm so stubborn.
about it. So I've heard all kinds of advice regarding this question. I've heard people say, I'm not telling you a weakness, that people actually uh, kind of refuse to tell a weakness, or I've heard people um, give a weak weakness. And what does that look like? It's a weakness that doesn't mean anything. Like they'll say something like, "Oh, I tend to just be work too hard." Well, as a interviewer, they're almost gonna do an eye roll, like
Okay.
whatever.
I don't want you. I don't want you to work too hard. Go away.
Exactly, Um, for me, that is more of a self-awareness question than somebody really trying to pick out your weakness. So what you want to do is you want to welcome that question. And you might say something like, you know what? To be very honest, I'm naturally a person who enjoys to engage, and that can actually be a weakness for me. A strength, a weakness is just a strength out of control. So because I really like to engage and I can be a chatty Cathy, I kind of give myself just 3 to 4 minutes to have a conversation that's outside of work. I typically time myself, and then I cut it off by saying, it's good talking with you, but I have to get back to work. This helps me manage my time during the day while still allowing me to connect with my coworkers. It's a real life weakness, and I honestly, I love to connect with people, and I love to be empathetic with people and things of that nature, but I manage myself. I honestly told you a real weakness of mine, and I just told you exactly how I handle it. I honestly only allow myself 3 to 5 minutes to talk about someone's personal issue. And, on a regular basis, I say, oh, okay, well, I've enjoyed talking with you, but I've got to get back to work. It's real life. So whatever your weakness is, what people are looking for What the employer is looking for is how you manage it. Nobody's expecting you to be Superman, here, and Jesus already came, so you're not going to be perfect.
Yeah, and
No one's going to,
not
no,
everybody loved him.
that's true. So, my point is, no one's expecting you to be perfect. You've just got to have a mechanism for managing your weakness. And I want someone to be self-aware. Because if you tell me you don't have a weakness, then I'm concerned about your judgment, right? And I can't help you with your judgment. You need to bring that to the table. But if you have a weakness, then perhaps I can support you on your journey.
So good, so good. It's amazing. Well, we have another comment from Daniel. So happy to be listening and connecting with today. Thank you, Daniel. It's a pleasure to have you here also.
Hi, Danielle.
Okay, there's I think we can put this together, which is for instance, how what we did in the past about the companies we worked, the job, the roles we had, and also, and I think this is sometimes a problematic thing. For instance,
Okay.
when you have a long time, a long period, and unemployed, and
Oh, yeah.
people may ask, "What were you doing in this meantime?" How can you we face this? Because it's okay.
So this is going to happen to a lot of people. But before that employer asks, what were you doing? Ask yourself, what were you doing, right? Figure out what were you able to accomplish. For instance, many people are in what I call like a sandwich generation, to where they are taking care of their children and maybe they're taking care of a parent. Those two in itself take up, you know, all their time. Those are two full-time jobs, right? So don't just say, I was taking care of my children, I was taking care of a ill parent. Look up in a job description what skills that you have to have in order to successfully care for an elderly uh, parent, okay? And then be able to talk about those skills and be able to write them down on a resume. Because what I'm looking for as an employer is what you know how to do, what skills, what tasks are can you be able to handle. And I can tell you, if you're taking care of a sick parent, if you're acting as their advocate, I promise you that you are multitasking. I promise you that you are engaging with physicians' offices. You are have a lot of understanding about medication, and you have a lot of understanding about how things work with maybe nursing homes or doctors' offices or and hospitals, things of that nature. So for that reason, you have been able to develop a skill set. That may propel you further along in a particular job opportunity than you would expect. That said, if you can't communicate that to me, if you don't have an understanding of what that is, then it's difficult for me to support you on your journey and then justify you as hireable. So figure out what value you can bring. Figure out what skills that you've been able to master while you have been off for that particular period of time. So, that said, if you are out of work, do something.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay?
it is.
Yes, do something. Spend your time um, volunteering, doing something. Spend that time, perhaps. You know, what is it called? It's not called gap work. Oh, gig. That's the word it's called. Spend your time doing a gig or something like that, or freelancing. Um, spend your time accomplishing something, even if you are just doing it on a volunteer basis. This way, you can accomplish something and have relevant current skills. What you don't want to do is let your skills run dry. Mhm.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because there's one thing about we talk often about this on marketing. It's don't communicate features, communicate solutions,
Yeah.
because it's the same. You don't have to say, "Oh, I have this." I don't know how to name it. Certificate, or I
Hmm.
know to do this. Tell what
Hmm.
with
Hmm.
your knowledge, with your skills, you can solve problems or bring value to this particular company, because it's also important to resonate in the head of the people who are in front of you.
Hmm. Hmm. I agree. And when you were talking, something came to mind that I learned from actually a boss that I had. And I had for years, had been taught this idea of sell yourself, sell yourself, sell yourself, right? As if we were um, a commodity like a car, so to speak. But he challenged my thinking in this area, and I appreciate it, because I have a high AQ. I was able to adapt and change. But and so I'm hoping that everyone watching will come along with me in this particular idea. You don't want to sell yourself. What you want to do is you want to promote your abilities. You want to promote your value. Okay? Because at the end of the day, you are going to leave the organization that you're with, and you're going to take you with you. Okay? They can only
Absolutely,
have you for a finite moment in time. Okay? Um, you are your own. You are not owned by anyone except for yourself. You are your decision maker. And quite frankly, if you go to work with the idea that you work for yourself, then you will create the best results. I work well, I should say I learned early on that I was always working in partnership with my employer. Okay? And that I was actually working for myself to do the job that they gave me to do. And in doing that, it it gave me an initiative, a tireless desire to do the best job possible. I wasn't being put upon. I was bringing my value, my talents, my skills, my wealth to a a goal that was given to me, and that way I was able to put forth my very best effort. And if I'm always able to look inside of myself and see how can I help this situation, how can I be generous with what I have to give, then I save myself from being burnt out. Because if you are burnt out on your job, then you kind of do the job a disservice, and you do yourself a disservice because you're not pleased. You're feeling put upon. You're feeling frustrated. You're feeling underappreciated, right? So you have to kind of renew that on a regular basis. And that really does boil down to the attitude of how you sold yourself, have you promoted your skill set, have you promoted your value. Okay.
absolutely.
Hmm.
And it's important because at the end, I think we like to be recognized by our skills, because there's this thing that for me it's a nonsense, that some people say, oh, I don't care about my job, I just go there to get my money, and then
Hmm.
I get the joy, I get the fulfillment for the things I do. When the work is it's over, and I go to fish, I go to play football, doesn't matter, that's where I get the fulfillment, and I see, oh my god, so you spend, I think at the end of a life, it's kind of 1/4 or 1/3 of your life in a
Mm-hmm.
thing that doesn't please you. Does it
Mm-hmm.
make sense?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. You know what? If I was a digger, I don't have really the muscles to do that. But if that was my job, I would do it the best way that I could do it, and I would do it the most efficient way um, that I could do it. So it really doesn't matter what you are doing. If I was selling French fries at McDonald's, my French fries would be hot. Okay. As a matter of fact, one of my very first jobs was at a fast food restaurant. It's in America. It's called Church's Chicken. Way back in the day when I was a teenager. But I developed a customer following because I would never give out old chicken, and I would always, serve my chicken with kindness. So I had people who would wait to, for me to wait for my shift to come get their food. I had a lot of regulars. So my point is that whatever you do, do it well. Do it as if you're representing the best part of yourself. Digging, selling chicken, working in a fast food restaurant, or being a CEO for a Fortune 500 company. You have to be a leader of one first and decide that you are going to put your best foot forward, because what you do is important if you decide it is important.
Absolutely, absolutely. So one thing that sometimes it's hard for people interviewees to make it, and some of them, they don't even know if they should do this or not. Ask questions.
Oh boy.
Do you have something to say about it?
Well, yes, please. Please. Definitely, ask questions to the person. A lot of people, the first question they want to ask is, so how much does the job pay? Don't
How much will I got at the end of the
yeah,
month?
how much money will I get? Please don't do that on your first interview, right? If you are curious about how much the job generally pays, there is a in America there is a website. It's called bls.gov, but in general, there is salary.com. Are you familiar with this?
Not really.
Okay. Well,
I
yeah.
should.
Salary.com is a very common website. And then if you're in America, guys, bls.gov is a great website. And quite frankly, if I was not in America, I would still take a look at that particular website so that you can see what a baseline looks like, right? And then maybe what questions should you ask? Okay, you want to engage. So I love organic questions. All right, and for that you want to take out something maybe that you can explore that you talked about during the interview. But let's pretend that there's nothing there. This was a good interview, and you can't remember anything that you're curious about during the interview. Maybe ask the question about, so can you tell me what new initiatives does this company have that they're working on? And the person might say, well, what do you mean by that? So what new products, what new lines of business um, is this organization working on? And it gives you an opportunity to hear about what's new that's going on. You can simply ask the person, so what have you enjoyed about working at this particular organization? People love to talk about themselves, so let them go for it and and talk about that. Perhaps ask them, a good question to ask is, how did this particular position come to be available, right? Because perhaps this person, the person was promoted in this position. That's very good, right? But perhaps this person was fired. Oh gosh, that's then you get to talk about, well, you know, tell me what happened, to make to make the person separate from the job. And perhaps it's something that you can use and put in your particular toolbox. You can also ask, what does a win, look like in this position? What is it that makes a person very successful in this particular position? That's like asking what's on the test before before you get the test, right? So if you know that really the ticket for doing well on this position is to get along with um, the new boss. Maybe that's the area that was challenging for the previous person. Perhaps you can explore that. Or perhaps communication with other departments is really what makes this position work well. Then you can focus on that. But ask the types of questions that reveal what success look like. Okay, and that's really what your conversation should be about. And don't just ask that question once, ask it at every level of the interview. And then in addition to that, you might want to talk about what does the interview process actually look like going forward. I know a lot of people really get discouraged during the interview process, and they think that people are not interested in them, when it's actually that the next person that's planning on interviewing them has a very challenging schedule, and they may not have an opportunity to interview them for 2 weeks or a month. But if you fail to solicit that information, you may not get it, right? And you've wasted a lot of time feeling bad about yourself or thinking that you haven't done well on the interview, when in all actuality, your wait time has nothing to do with you. Another question that you might want to think about is how um, how many people will you be working with on a regular basis? Sometimes a job opportunity um, presents itself where you work in isolation, or perhaps you work with a team on a regular basis. You want to know that as well. Um, Another question, particularly in leadership, middle management, I should talk about. In middle management, there is a funny place where you have the responsibility, but you do not have the authority to make the decision, right? So you want to hash that out, and you want to, trace the authority line. Now, I might not ask human resources about that, but I might ask the hiring manager about that. You want to know what the job looks like really as much as you can before you accept the particular job. So dig in, because ultimately, as much as that job is hiring you, you are hiring that job. You're going to invest a lot of time. Most people spend more time with their work than they do in their home life. That's why people have work wives and work husbands. A lot of times in the workplace, people almost create like a little pseudo family. So because you're going to spend so much time with these people, investigate before you find yourself in a place where you can't be productive.
Absolutely, because that's it. Because I don't believe that if you work on a place that doesn't fulfill you
Hmm.
in any way, how
Hmm.
can you be happy at home? For at night, you're going to sleep. Oh my God! Tomorrow I have to wake up and go to that so bad place where
Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense. But there's one question I need to ask you. Due to these problems in US, and I think maybe they may be in so many places about racism and everything.
Hmm.
Don't you think that it's important also for you as an employee, for instance, because we are talking about mostly an interview, to understand how does this race, if there's some racist DNA in the company? Because For instance, maybe I'm not black, but
Mm-hmm.
I will feel really uncomfortable working in a place that it has some racist DNA. You know what I mean? So, don't you think it's important for everybody to understand the environment about this so sensitive thing by these days? To understand, okay, I don't, because as you said, sometimes you have to do that statement, I don't want to work here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, this reminds me of this phrase. It said, "To thy own self be true." William Shakespeare. I love that line because you really have to be true to yourself. Okay. Recently, I actually created a poll, and the question was, is it important to discuss the current racial unrest on a job interview? Now,
Do you want to share the screen, please?
oh, let's see. Let's see. I don't know. Let me see if I can do that. How do I
Yes, you
do
can.
that?
Screen
Okay. Oh,
share
oh, there I see
at
it.
the
I see
bottom.
it. I see it. I see it. Okay. Share screen with monitor. Okay. Okay. Wait. Nope. That's not it. There we go. Is it on screen now?
Not yet. Let it arrive. I will push.
Did I do it yet?
Not yet.
Oh,
Try when you
wait a
hit
minute.
the.
Hold on 1 second.
Okay. Okay. Now it is. Okay.
Okay.
Now go to the. There you go.
Okay. All right. Okay, good. So I cannot see me and the screen at the same time. Is that right? I think that's what's going on.
No, you're on the screen.
Okay, well, anyway, thank you for that. So here is a poll, and this is where we are. So the question is it appropriate to discuss the current racial unrest on a job interview? Now, 15% of the people are saying yes. Now, actually, I did this just this morning. 38% of the people are saying outright no. All right. Um, Another 38% of the people are saying it should be appropriate. And then 8% of the people are saying that it should not be appropriate. So, how I analyze this data is really the understanding is that it's currently not viewed as appropriate, even though it should be appropriate, says that people want to, they still kind of understand that currently it's simply not appropriate to do so. I don't necessarily think that's the place where we want to be if we want to um, really get a better idea in the workplace of what race relations look like. But what that tells me is that we are at the beginning stages of creating a new normal, creating a platform, a process for getting comfortable with talking about race relations. You know, human resources, it is their job to keep the organization out of trouble, to keep them from being sued, right? So if they walked around freely talking about race relations, they may get some of the things that we are seeing showing up on the news, right? You know, there was what is this word they're calling people now? Karen. Karen, have you heard that?
No, not really. Can you repeat, please?
It's Karen, and it's when someone I think there's like Arizona Karen and California Karen and Central Park Karen. And what this is when someone of a white race calls the police or calls an authority on an individual for simply existing. For instance, there was a gentleman, he was bird watching. He was a black gentleman, and he was watching, and a white female called the police on him and said that he was being attacking her, being aggressive with her. If human resources had to deal with that internally and ask those questions internally outright, they may really hear people speak the truth of their heart. At the same time, um, they may get someone who is ready to live out all the aggression that they have experienced as a minority. And so, what I think human resources professionals are hoping to do and looking to do is create a space where people can express themselves without going over the line. Okay. And typically that is done after people are hired, through diversity training, sensitivity training, things of that nature. However, I will say this. Oh gosh, the gentleman, I don't know his name, but the gentleman who owns Starbucks was once asked, "How do you get everyone in your organization to smile? You know, when they greet customers?" And he said, "I just hire people who like to smile."
Yeah,
Right.
that's
So
it.
that's their yeah, it's very simple. So that's their natural tendency. So for that reason, how do we get people into organizations who have a healthy understanding about race relations? We have to hire people who have a healthy understanding about race relations. So, human resources and leadership are going to have to use tools in order to get a better understanding of where people are as it relates to connecting with people who are different than them. Maybe um, I don't enjoy people who are younger than me or older than me because it's not just race relations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, maybe I'm uncomfortable with working with people who are gay or lesbian or LBGQ or something of that nature. Maybe
Religious and religions, religion things.
religion, yeah,
Yeah,
maybe religion. So there are a lot of differences. Now, I won't neglect to say that um, being black is just a little bit different, just because you you can't necessarily look at someone and tell what their religion is. You can't
absolutely.
necessarily look at someone and tell whether they're gay or
Sexuality.
straight or what their sexuality. You can't look at them. But when your skin is viewed as a weapon, if your skin is viewed as just has a negative connotation to it just because of the hue and the pigment of your skin, then you cannot take that off. And so we as a nation are just going to have to figure out how to address these issues in a productive, real world way. And that includes in the workplace because you got to work.
Absolutely.
You got to work.
Well, we have to bring this topic to just talk about this in a few days, I hope,
Yes.
because I think it's important to talk about this.
Hmm.
So you already have another invitation to join me, and
Oh,
we'll
well,
talk
thank
this
you.
about
Thank
this
you.
after the show, because for me it's really important to talk about this, because I don't know how to call this animal in English. The big bird which doesn't fly, who we used to say that he hides the head in the sand.
Oh, okay. Okay. What is that? An ostrich that hide? I don't know.
Yes, yes, that is. Yeah. So I think it's important not do as the which it doesn't do that. it's
Okay.
it's it's false because it doesn't hide the head in the sand. But I think it's important to bring this topic again and again because it's important to understand this and to talk about it.
I agree. You know what? That's what we have to do. We have to talk about this. Um, there are a lot of points of views on this, but there is one sure thing about it. We are all human, and we all want the following. We all want to be accepted, we all want security, and we all want to be significant. We Those are just human needs that we have, and if we can figure out a way to make one another feel those things, then we'll definitely be better off for it. And talking about issues like this is a very good start. I wanted to share the link to the poll, so if people wanted to use it, I put it in our private chat. I don't have the access to add it.
I I I will bring it to the screen. Okay, not this one. Okay, okay, okay. There you go. Okay, I will put it as a crawler.
Yeah, great. So yeah,
Okay,
awesome.
and
Those people who on Team Replay, please do take this poll so we can get your feedback. The poll is um, going to be up for a few more days, and I'm looking forward to getting your feedback on this poll. And then tomorrow, I'm going to be putting up another question, so you'll have to stay tuned, and Marco will add that one up for you as well. But
okay,
it'll be among the same subject line. I think, like I said, I think this is good for us to talk about, and then understand that there is not a 100% right or 100% wrong, but there is a way that we can collaborate and move forward in productivity. That's what we've got to do. Uh,
absolutely.
yeah. All right.
So last because this thing it's also important the way we look, the dress code, the outfit we
Oh my God.
use. Because sometimes we take for granted that, for instance, we should have a tie and
Mhm.
a jacket to
Uh-huh.
go, and the opposite, which is, oh no, I won't change my personality because I want to go with a t-shirt and shorts.
Mhm. Oh, you know what? I love this. I love this question because it bends towards something that I enjoy talking about, and it is developing a professional personality, a professional persona. Okay, so you have to be able to go from the barbecue to the boardroom to a banquet, right? And all of those, you wouldn't wear the same things to all of those events. So you want to have a personality that fits everywhere in between. Okay. For instance, if I was going on a job interview and it was a lunch interview, you know, um, what might I wear to that particular lunch interview? Okay. What would you think? What might I wear?
Well, I don't know. It depends on the company.
That is 100% correct. It depends on the company, and it depends on what my job duties are. So it's really a trick question. The answer is it depends. Let's pretend that I talked about construction work, right? If you go on a interview for to a construction company, and then you wear your nice hard bottom dress shoes to this construction company, you look out of place, don't you? Right?
Absolutely.
You look inappropriate. So don't do that. The best thing for you to wear would be a pair of khakis and maybe a nice polo. That said, on a lot of construction jobs, they put you to work the same day. So perhaps you should ask the person, should I come ready to work? Um, or not. And so asking pertinent questions will help you. Now, I really specialize in the medical field. So I talk to medical professionals about this all the time. Physicians and nurse practitioners, nurses, they have a tendency to just want to pop up in their scrubs. Going on a interview to the human resource department in your scrubs is inappropriate. However, if you are going to work in lab that day, if you're going to work on the floor that day, then that is the way that you want to show up. So once again, ask pertinent questions about that. Let's say if you are going to work in a branch office versus working in a corporate setting, you probably don't want to dress the same way for a corporate setting as you would in a branch office, but you want to, you want to dress nicely for that interview. So what does that look like? A skirt and blouse or a pair of black slacks and a nice blouse for a female would be very nice. For a man, for a branch interview, a pair of nice slacks and maybe a polo would be very nice. Regarding your makeup for women, you don't want to be overly made up and you don't want to have your nails very long. Basically, you don't want to have anything on your interview that's going to be a distraction. So,
A
oh,
noise.
yeah, a distraction. So, although those glittery earrings and that shimmery makeup is just gorgeous, what girl doesn't like to be fabulous? You don't want to overdo it. Okay. So that is the biggest deal. And then I know that people are very casual these days, but avoid wearing jeans. At, yeah, and unless that is, like I said, construction things of that nature. Avoid wearing jeans to almost any interview unless you know for a fact that that is the dress attire for that particular interview. Regarding tattoos and piercings, those particular things have really grown in popularity here in America. How about where you are? Have those things grown in popularity?
Well, yeah, people are using more often tattoos,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that some prejudice about it when we
Mm-hmm.
are talking about work. Yes.
So, I would say that you're 100% right. So, if I had a visible tattoo, I would first cover my tattoo and then I would ask about those policies. What are your policies regarding tattoos? Oh, this is another one, hair color. Gosh, there are so many expressive, beautiful hair colors that you may be able to get away with once you're hired. However, you don't want to be so, expressive in your thinking on the job interview. So maybe don't go to the job interview with pink hair.
I
Okay.
was thinking about it.
I don't know. You might be able to make that work. Because quite honestly, a lot of employers are letting people be very expressive, but the idea is you don't know that to be so. You do not know the company policy
Absolutely.
prior to working there, and so you don't want to just assume that, hey, I can wear my pink hair, my purple hair, or however else, whatever bold color your hair is. So, does that mean that I can't have pink hair while looking for a job interview? No, but you might want to figure out a way to cover up your pink hair. You know, there are, thank goodness women can wear wigs. I don't know what you fellas are going to do, but
Cap.
no hats on interviews. No, no, no. you guys are just gonna have to suffer through it with your natural color hair or some standard, some standard color hair. Gonna
Well,
have to
on my hair, well, there's some white coming popping up, but
I can't see it. I can't tell.
yeah, there's one here, I think.
Oh, the one,
But
the one. Okay.
the silver one, the
The
silver
one
head.
silver, it's wisdom. It's wisdom. Oh, and you know what? Another thing I wanted to talk about, piercings.
Mhm.
Take your face piercings out. There are piercings here and piercings in your nose and piercings in your cheek. Although those things are attractive, it has nothing to do with how pretty it is. It has to do with, is do you want me to judge you based off of that particular um, image that you are portraying in that particular moment? Okay. So although once you get the job, you may be able to wear those things, you don't want to show up that particular way. Um, you know, in the first impression. Now that we're talking about first impressions, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about your online presence and how much that matters. Although it might not be fair in your eyes that someone is taking a look at your Facebook page or your Instagram or your Twitter account, whatever form of social media that you have, you might not think that is fair. The reality is this is almost a living, breathing business card for who you are. And once you begin working for that company, particularly if you are the type of person that is a salesperson or you're the face of a company, the things that you post make a difference. And a lot of organizations have a morals clause. Okay, so you want to either make your Facebook posts or your media posts private, or you want to be very conservative about what you post, even if it doesn't have your actual name. I will tell you, more often than not, human resources departments are doing a deep dive on people prior to, making that final decision. I would hate for something that you said about something that's going on to prevent you from getting the job of your dreams. So, if you have very controversial views, perhaps you want to make that private and keep it to just a few people. Um, or you might want to just kind of be mindful about what you're posting. Okay. So those things are very important,
Absolutely.
particularly during your job search.
Absolutely. I once heard Guy Kawasaki telling about this. Don't you think that even Instagram, it's a professional social media? Because it is, because
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it tells you so much about you, and you should be aware of that, because you
Mm-hmm.
cannot neglect it, because if you are doing stupid things or things that may not being seen as good.
Mm-hmm.
And once I made a workshop about, and I talked about this at the end. A boy approached to me and asked me, "Oh, Marco, look, I'm in politics and I have my opinions. What do you think about it?" Well, if you want to make a statement about this, okay, be responsible of this. If
Mm-hmm.
you want to say what your opinions, your ideals about politic, it's okay, but you should be aware that it may be reflected in
Mm-hmm.
somehow in your work, in your job, or when you're applying to something, because that's it. You cannot make okay, this will stays in this box and this in this box, and nobody can cross boxes to
Mm-hmm.
because that's not the point. If you want to, I always say there are three things which I don't speak on social media, and I because I have my convictions. I have. It doesn't mean that if I don't talk, it doesn't mean that I don't think about it and I don't have my ideas, because I
Mm-hmm.
have. sport, mostly football, because soccer, because here in Portugal we are
Mhm.
fanatics about
Mhm. Mhm.
football. Religion, I have my ideas, I have my convictions. I don't speak about it because at the end of the day, if you are Christian, you still Christian, and if I'm Jew, for instance, I'm still Jew, and maybe we are fighting, and at the end of it doesn't have any result.
Mhm. Mhm.
Just we will be upset the
Yeah.
one with the other. So
Uh-huh.
there's and policy also. I don't speak about policy. I have my ideas again. I have my convictions, but I don't speak about it because
Mhm.
I want to avoid these useless discussions, and
Mm.
uh, most of them will have the opposite result I really want to have, because I want to
Mhm.
share insightful conversation, uh, something that may bring you some value, and I want to be seen. I don't have to. I don't want to be. I don't have this. I don't want this wheel to be seen as an amazing guy, but at least someone who wants to bring meaningful things to his community.
I think um I think I agree, but I'm more nuanced about what you're saying. For instance, let us pretend like I'm a Christian. I love Jesus Christ, and I'm saying this out loud because this is who I am. That said, would um I work for a company that was promoted atheist, atheists? No, that would not be okay with me because we don't meet in our values, right? So although I might not although I might not post my political views per se, right? Because not all Christians believe the same thing about politics. I would post. As a matter of fact, if you looked on my LinkedIn page, you will see a lot of things about my church. But if a person looked me up and they did not like that about me, for me that would be a good thing because I need to know that. Okay, because that is a permanent long-term value for mine, and if you're going to make me feel uncomfortable because of that, then that's a good thing, right? At the same time, you're Jewish, and that's okay with me. I don't not love you because you're Jewish. So, you know, so
I'm not you.
oh, okay, okay. But I guess so.
Just an example.
Just an example. I guess things that I would not post. Maybe I would not necessarily post how I like if I really hated one of the presidential candidates, right? I would not uh post that. That's kind of inappropriate. That's something, private, and it's not a long-term view of mine. It's going Whether you like our president or you don't like our president, the fact of the matter is he is eventually going to change, right? So that is not a value, that's an opinion, right? So I don't know if I would go about posting, my opinions about this thing and about that thing. But I think that our values should be reflected, um, so that when people research us, it's truthful. I never want anybody to bring a false persona um, to the table. I don't want anybody to be fake. I want people to be authentic. I just want people to also be appropriate. So you can be very authentic and be appropriate at the same time. And sometimes people don't understand how to thread that needle, which is just FYI. That's one thing that interview coaches help you do. Coaches in general help you, life coaches help you do that, because as much as we want to give ourselves permission to be, to be who we are, we have to give other people permission to be authentic and be who they are. You know, someone said something to me, and it really hit me. And it is, if you are the poorest person in the world, you still have respect, the currency of respect. And, you know, it just hit me. It just hit me because when someone respects who you are, they can agree with you, they can disagree with you, but if they acknowledge that who you are brings some value to the table, and they respect your boundaries and your value, then we can get somewhere. And I think hostility exists in where there is no respect.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Well, I want to add something to my disclaimer. You know
Okay.
what I mean? It's that mostly here in Portugal, we have this problem. You, for instance, you can share a really insightful post on your Facebook.
Hmm. Hmm.
Maybe you got 3 or 4 likes and
Yeah.
no comments at all.
Yeah.
You just make a post about football. You have 10 haters or 100 haters and a few like people who like you. And why the main reason I avoid this is because sometimes it leads to a discussion which I don't want to have, you know.
Mm.
And that's why, because most of the times we want to impose our opinion to the
Hmm.
others. And
Yeah.
we here have a say which is, I oh my god, for instance, when you are for instance, you are building a new church, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
some people wants to go raise some money. And
Hmm.
okay, I don't want to give money to their raising. You know what
Hmm.
I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
So I avoid these 3 topics because most of the time they lead to discussion, to useless discussion. So I don't want to have this kind of discussion. So I
I
avoid them.
so I understand that, particularly on social media. Um, there is a culture of disrespect versus
Absolutely,
a culture of respect. And so if we have not established the ground where I can honor you and you can honor me, and I don't have to push upon you my views, then there is no sense of us talking, because it's just noise. If nobody's listening and everybody's moving their mouth, then there's just noise. So, you know, it adds no value. I
absolutely,
honestly, I honestly made a habit. I have to tell you this. This is just a personal little story about me. Um, when I was younger, I used to love to debate, right? Because I love to get out the ideas of the world. And then one day I was in the midst of a debate with someone who meant so much to me, and they were not listening to me at all. And I promise you, from the top of my head to the bottom of my toes, and even in my gut, okay, where something is right or wrong, it came over me to stop arguing. Stop arguing with this person. And from that moment, I grew so much. And I would say that is one of the things that changed me from being a girl to a woman, is I do not argue for the sake of arguing. I do not discuss, push my point for the sake of being right. I would rather do what is right than be right.
and
Okay.
have peace.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no, 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 because sometimes peace is not what's necessary. I'm peaceful. I'm peaceful. I'm very easygoing. Okay, this is just kind of who I am. I'm a very joyful, kind of effervescent, bubbly kind of girl. right? So it's easy for me to get along with others, right? At the same time, I have um, grown to not be disappointed in myself. What does that mean? When I see something that is really, really wrong, it is important not to just go along, not to um, continue down the road as if nothing is going on. So I might say to, um, in a situation where something is really wrong, I might say it peacefully and I might say it kindly and I might say it very respectfully, but I shall say
But
it.
you say
I
it.
shall I shall use all the gentleness that I have to and respectfulness that I have to say it. I talked to you earlier about how I love being a woman. I, be, because I think that feminine power is very practical, is very useful, and where people might lock horns, where big egos, whether male or female, might lock horns. Um, the feminine energy of gentleness can come in and say the same thing, right? But create ease. It can help the situation and help the people understand that your mind is respected and this person's mind is respected. The position is respected, and then collaboration can begin. So, yeah,
It's a nice topic to another conversation. We
it
should
is.
work on this.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
I have to say, well, we have to close this, but one day I made a show with ladies, just ladies and me.
Yes.
I was the only
Oh,
guy.
you want to be surrounded by women.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
yes.
And from Spain, from
Oh, yeah.
the whole Latin America,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the longest show I made,
Ah,
4 hours on
mm-hmm.
Facebook,
Oh,
and
my
didn't went longer because Facebook wouldn't allow us.
Oh, wow. It had to cut off. They said
Yeah,
you don't have to go home, but you got to get up out of here.
no, they shut down the and we still talking, and I
Wow.
was watching the comments and people saying, "Oh, the show ended," and I, oh my god, ended? How we still here talking so so
Oh my gosh.
so I want to make it again, and this time with you have the mission to find
Oh,
participants.
find it. Well, I tell you, I do have a lovely girl from Canada. You know, we want to make this international, and I know some ladies. So, what do you want? Four girls?
We can have at least six.
Six
Okay,
girls.
six girl. Well, we can have a little because we can make some rounds, if you know what I mean, and
Mm-hmm.
we can talk about. Well, we should come with some ideas about
Yeah.
ladies leadership,
Mm-hmm.
because there's one thing. Okay, like like yeah, so, because they made this kind of study which countries were more efficient
Mm-hmm.
uh, dealing with COVID, and almost all of those countries we deal better with this were ruled by ladies.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think Sweden was the exception.
I see. I see. I
New
think.
Zealand,
Yeah.
Denmark, and some other countries. I think some in the eastern side of Europe also, which were the first minister or the president were ladies, and they deal way better than the others,
Mm-hmm.
which were ruled by men.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna just this is my opinion, okay? So, but I think that women, we definitely have egos, but I don't think that we always lead with our egos. I think that we lead from a place of security and logic, which makes us consider a lot of other pieces
The
of the
whole,
puzzle,
yes.
the whole puzzle. And we typically ask for opinions. We typically ask for feedback. And when you bring other minds and other perspectives to the table, you get an understanding that you didn't have before. You basically cover more blind spots, because if there is something going on that you don't possibly see, that you don't have a knowledge of, but a consultant does, then and you don't bother asking, you don't get the benefit of that information. So just in the way that girls communicate with one another, how we generally operate, okay, it's I know in America, it's almost cultural that girls ask for opinions, right, of one another. And maybe there in Portugal too, that we are just natural collaborators. And so it's just how we operate.
Absolutely. For instance, it's kind of joke here. I think maybe in America it's not different. When a man goes to the bathroom, if he goes with another man, oh, they are gay.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And ladies usually go by
The group.
two.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's it. And I don't know what you are talking about.
Well, because we're just talking about the moment.
Yeah,
We are talking about the moment and challenging. Even in that, I'm so glad you brought that up. We are challenging our perspective. We are asking the other person, some other person, how are you perceiving this moment? Even this simple situation as, dinner and drinks, or this social situation, it's just ingrained to kind of ask the opinion of the other person that's experiencing this particular moment. A phrase that I enjoy is that iron sharpens iron. And so women have a way of collecting other smart perspectives to balance their own smart perspective.
we should learn from ladies. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we should make a wrap now,
Mhm.
Erica,
Well,
which
we've been doing this for 2 hours now. It was only supposed to be an hour. We're just
yeah.
going.
So, which things for you are more important when we are preparing an interview or during the interview? Give some ideas which where we should focus to make it really good.
Mm, mm. So I have probably said practice, 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 and do your research. Um, I if we went back on this interview, how many times do you think I've said that, right? How many times do you think I would have said that? I've said that enough, but what I'm going to say is this, and we really did not get to touch on it, but these are matters of the heart. Okay, forgiveness, gratefulness, and generosity are three traits, three characteristics that you want to focus on, right? You want to have this within you, okay? If you forgive maybe the job that fired you, or you forgive um, yourself for being out of work, there's just a frustration that comes along with being out of work. Forgive yourself for being in this situation. Don't have shame. Take that burden off of you, okay? Then be generous. Be generous with the knowledge and the skills that you have. It will exude from you. And then be grateful. Be grateful for this very special time that you have in your life to focus and hone in your skills. If you can, make those three things a part of your character, before you know it, you will be back on the road to employment and in a job that you love?
Absolutely. Here I am again.
There you are.
Um, amazing, amazing. I'm so so
Where did
so
the time go, right?
so inspired, and I have to ask you my guest suggestions as usual. I don't know if you already saw it, but I ask a book, a professional which you want a kind of shout out. Please follow this guy or this lady because he or she shares amazing stuff. A
Oh my
habit you
gosh.
have, a habit.
Okay.
I have to make the joke
Okay.
because once I asked to a guest and he asked me, "Can I say smoking?"
Oh,
So now I have to say it's a healthy and legal habit.
oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
a tool, a tool which you recommend, a movie and a series.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
Ah,
okay.
step by step, step by step. Don't get overwhelmed. Step by step.
Okay. So,
A book.
no, I'm going to say this one first,
Okay.
because I want to do a quote. There is a gentleman. His name is Tim Henderson, and he just posted the other day this this quote. It says, "You've come too far." Basically, and the point, and it kind of has a, hands with the arms raised high, and you've come too far to give up. Okay, you've come too far to uh turn back. So the point is, don't give up on yourself. Um don't just lay down and do nothing, because I know for sure this is a time like no other. I don't think that we can, you know, go back to the greatest generation and say, "Grandpa, what did you do when there was a pandemic, a economic depression, and racial unrest all at the same time? What did you do?" This just really hasn't happened before. Okay,
Absolutely.
but we've come too far. We've come too far to do nothing. And I just really appreciate that post. And another person I really love, this gentleman, his name's Better with Paul. It's a podcast, or a live that I watch. He really gives a lot of really great information, so I enjoy him um, a lot. A book. This young lady, can you see this? I just
Yes.
happen to have this here. Okay, so her name is Michelle Thornton, and she has a really neat phrase. It's called strategic. And so it's for girls. It's a take on. Can you see that? Ah. It's a take on the world word strategic, but it's strategic. So it's
Oh.
yeah. So it's for girls and about girl power. This book is about success, and I just really really enjoyed it, because one, it's a quick read, but it's really pointed and thorough. So that is a book. And did you ask me for a movie?
Yeah. Also.
You asked me for a movie. So I love this movie. It's an old movie. It's you know Forrest Gump.
Oh, amazing. Run, Forest,
Run,
run.
Forrest, run, run, Forrest, run. And I love this movie for so many reasons. I loved him because even though he wasn't the greatest at things that people felt like he should be amazing at, he decided to really lean into what he was good at. And I really enjoyed him because he was written with a capacity to love. My name is Coach Erica Love, so I'm attracted.
Yeah,
I,
it's
I
an
am I'm just attracted to that, and I'm really intentional about doing that to people who are in my sphere. If you're in my sphere of influence at all, I am actively practicing my ability to love you. Okay. And I just really appreciate that. And I feel like that was a characteristic of Forrest Gump.
Yeah,
Um,
it was amazing. Let me
yeah.
see. Habit.
Mm, a habit. Love,
Yeah, it's
love.
amazing.
And what is that? What does that look like? You know what? One thing I learned this early on, and it really felt like a kick in the gut when I found this out. This is going to be horrible, but I'm good at it now. Now, love is sacrifice. Love
Absolutely.
is sacrifice. So, um, you know, be a servant leader. Do not just always think about what's in it for me. If you live to add value, you will grow beyond your wildest dreams. So
Absolutely.
make a habit of living to add value in being generous, grateful, and appreciative of those who are around you, including yourself. Don't,
Absolutely.
yeah. Some people say things to themselves that they would be very upset if someone else said to them. So be very careful with your self talk. Hmm. Um,
Absolutely.
did you ask me for a television show?
Yes, a television show also.
So there's this very interesting television show. It's called The Good Place. The Good Place. It recently wrapped, but it tosses around and kind of explores this idea of the afterlife, and it does it in a very philosophical way, and it explores ethics in a very deep way, and it's just very interesting. So if you're a little bit nerdish and you like to think like you enjoy thinking this, this is a good show for you. But I will tell you, there's a love story that will kind of get you going. Keep you going if you get a little bored with all that thinking stuff.
No, no, it's okay. It's okay. It's
So
good.
yeah, The Good Place is good. It's worth watching. What was the
And the tool, the last one.
ooh? What is the tool? Give me an example. What do you
Well,
mean?
some people say, for instance, LinkedIn. Some say Calendly. Some say networking. Some there's a really
Okay,
wide
so
range.
okay, I got it. Oh, yeah, count those things. Those are kind of electronic tools. I would say, ah, do you ask me about a book too? So I no, well, I already did the one about the book, but
Yeah, you can say another
it'll
one.
all tie in. There is a book, and it was called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I love this book. I love the even the oral series where you can put a CD in and just listen to it. In there, there's a chart, and it helps you organize yourself, and it breaks it down. What's for your day? What's important? What is urgent? What is fun? And then what is urgent and important? Getting your task organized in that particular order is very very helpful if you can do that. Start off each day with a plan for the day, and that's just really good. In a good way to measure that, it's in his book as well. Begin with the end in mind. What do you want the end of the by the end of the day, what do you want that to look like, right? And if you
Absolutely.
begin with the end in mind, then you will do better throughout your day. Don't just be all haphazard, willy nilly.
Absolutely. Well, Erika, we come to the end.
Yeah, it's been
Well,
awesome. Thank
how
you.
long will the show? About 1 hour.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All I can say, oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. It has been an absolute pleasure. Um, I hope that the information that I've shared with you guys has been helpful. And just thank you for spending this time with me. So I appreciate you so much. It was LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Just hello and thank you. And I appreciate you.
Yeah. By the way, tell people how they can find you on that networks.
Okay. So at Coach Erica Love on um, let's see, Instagram and LinkedIn, and then my Coach Erica Love on Facebook.
Perfect. So please reach Erica
Yeah,
so and ask them questions,
yeah,
engage with them
yeah.
because
That'll be
we
awesome.
because it will be amazing. Erica, thank you so much for being with us. I had this feeling at the beginning this will last this, because it's amazing. You're very insightful and that peace that you emanate. That's how we say
Yes,
it's.
peaceful.
Yeah, it's amazing. I because as I said, I as Portuguese, as South European, as
Yeah.
Latin, we are so hot blooded and we are so emotional, and sometimes
Ah,
it's good to have these peaceful people on the other side, which calms you down.
that's good. That's good.
And
What it is
you are
truly
that
my
kind of
pleasure.
people. Yeah,
It is
perfect.
it is truly my pleasure. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon.
Hope, yeah, we have two tasks
Yeah,
to
that's true.
to get ahead. So we will talk soon for sure. And for all of you who are watching us now, or if you are watching the replay, thank you so much. Leave some questions if you want to Erica. Just tag her to so she can be notified that you ask her something. It was a pleasure. Wish you okay. I think I can wish you a great weekend.
Yes,
Wish you all the best.
yes.
And
Bye bye now.
if you come to this, how was the quote? Please finish with the quote, Erica.
Oh, wait a minute. I don't. If I come with. Oh, wait a minute. Which one? You don't have to go home, but you have to get out of here.
No,
Which
no.
one?
The last one you said, if you come to here, then
Oh, if you come to here, I don't know which one you're talking about.
it was the last one.
Was
The-
it about
we are in amazing times and
we're making. You know what?
spread you said
No, I don't. Was it something that I wrote? Did I?
no you said a minute ago
Oh gosh. Okay.
it was when I asked you about a professional you said the because I'm my brain it's also it's,
Well, I will just I can't remember that exciting quote, but I that you want me to replay, but I will say this that we are in an amazing time. It's probably never going to happen in history again. So for that reason, be intentional about all that you do. You're making history.
perfect. It's a nice way to finish. So, bye bye. Take
Bye bye
care.
for now.
And we see you soon. Bye bye.
Bye bye.